The day Michael Hale's triplets were born should have been the happiest day of his life. Instead, it became his worst nightmare. 3 tiny baby girls lay in glass boxes at the hospital. Lily, Rose, and Daisy. Perfect little fingers. Perfect little toes. But something was terribly, horribly wrong. "They can't see," the doctor said, holding his clipboard like a shield. "I'm very sorry, Mr. Hale." Michael felt his knees go weak. His wife, Sarah, grabbed his arm, her face turning white as snow. "What do you mean they can't see?" Michael whispered. He was a billionaire. He owned tech companies. He had 17 cars and a mansion with 42 rooms. Money could fix anything. Money had to fix this. The doctor looked at the floor. "It's their optic nerves. The nerves that connect the eyes to the brain. They're damaged, badly damaged. There's nothing we can do." "Nothing." Sarah's voice cracked like breaking glass. "I'm afraid it's permanent, Mrs. Hale. Your daughters will never see. Not ever." The words hit them like a truck. Never. Not ever. Forever blind. Michael spent the next 3 years trying to prove the doctors wrong. He hired 20 different specialists. He flew doctors in from Japan, Germany, and Switzerland. He built a special room in his mansion filled with the most expensive medical equipment money could buy. Every single doctor said the same thing. "I'm sorry. There's nothing we can do. It's too risky. The damage is permanent." The triplets grew into beautiful little girls. They learned to walk by touching the walls. They learned their home by counting steps. Lily liked to hum. Rose loved to laugh. Daisy was always asking questions. But they lived in darkness. Complete and total darkness. Sarah stopped smiling. She spent hours crying in the bathroom where the girls couldn't hear her. Michael buried himself in work, terrified that if he stopped moving, he'd fall apart completely. Their nanny, Mrs. Chun, was the only one who stayed strong. She taught the girls to be brave. She read them stories and sang them songs. She loved them like they were her own children. One cold November morning, Mrs. Chun took the girls for a walk in the park. She held their hands tightly as they walked past trees, losing their leaves. "What does red look like?" Daisy asked. Mrs. Chen's heart broke a little. "Red is warm, like a hug. Red is bright, like joy." "I want to see red," Lily said softly. "Me too," Rose added. They were sitting on a bench, feeding the birds crackers, when an old woman appeared. She was wearing torn clothes and had wild gray hair that looked like it hadn't been washed in months. Her face was dirty, and she smelled like the street. Mrs. Chin pulled the girls closer. This woman looked homeless. Dangerous, maybe, but the old woman's eyes were different. They were sharp, clear, like she could see right through people's skin and into their souls. "Those girls are blind," the woman said. Not a question. A fact. "Yes," Mrs. Chun said carefully. "Please, we don't want any trouble." The old woman stepped closer. She bent down and looked at each girl's face. She stared into their eyes for a long, uncomfortable moment. "They don't have to be," she said. Mrs. Chen's blood went cold. "Excuse me? They don't have to be blind. Someone lied to you. Who are you?" Mrs. Chen demanded, standing up and moving between the woman and the children. "My name is Elena. I used to be a doctor. A very good one. I know eyes. I know blindness." She pointed at the triplets. "And I know those girls can see again." Mrs. Chun felt anger rising in her chest. 20 doctors have examined them. The best doctors in the world. They all said it was safe to say nothing. Elena interrupted. Her voice was hard as stone. "They all said it was easier to call it permanent than to try something risky. They care more about protecting themselves than saving children." "That's not true." But even as Mrs. Chin said it, doubt crept into her mind like cold water. Elena reached into her pocket and pulled out a wrinkled business card. "I used to work at St. Renata's Hospital. I was the head of pediatric eye surgery. Then my daughter died and I lost everything. But I never lost my knowledge. I never forgot how to see the truth." She pressed the card into Mrs. Chen's hand. "Look at their eyes in bright light. Really look. You'll see a white cloudiness in the center. That's not nerve damage. That's cataracts. Thick ones, yes. Born with them, yes. But they can be removed. They can be fixed. Mrs. Chen's hands started shaking. If that's true, why wouldn't the doctors? Because removing cataracts requires surgery. Surgery on babies means risk. Risk means lawsuits. Lawsuits mean money. Your boss is billions. Doctors are terrified of him. So they said permanent and walked away. Elena turned to leave, then looked back one more time. They can see. They can see if someone just tries. And then she disappeared into the crowd, leaving Mrs. Chen standing there with 3 blind girls and a truth that could destroy everything or save everyone. That night, Mrs. Chen couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Elena's words. She kept remembering how the doctors had all looked nervous when they delivered their diagnoses, how they'd left the room quickly, how they'd never wanted to discuss other options. At 2 a.m, she made a decision that would change everything. She turned on every light in the triplets' room. She held each girl's face close to the lamp and looked deep into their eyes. And there, in the center of each pupil, she saw it, a cloudy white shimmer, like fog trapped inside. Her heart stopped. Elena was right. Mrs. Chun burst into Michael Hale's office at 6 a.m. She'd never done that before. Never dared. Michael looked up from his computer, surprised. Mrs. Chun? What's? I need to show you something. Her voice was shaking. Right now. 10 minutes later, Michael was staring into his daughter's eyes with a flashlight. Sarah stood beside him, holding her breath. Do you see it? Mrs. Chin whispered. That cloudiness? Michael's hands trembled. He did see it. A white fog in the center of each eye. How had he never noticed it before? What does this mean? Sarah asked. Mrs. Chun told them everything. About the homeless woman. About Elena. About cataracts that could be removed. Michael's face went from confused to angry to hopeful in seconds. If this is true, if those doctors lied to us. We need to find her, Sarah said. We need to find Elena. They searched the park every day for a week. Finally, on a rainy Tuesday afternoon, they found her sitting under a bridge, wrapped in newspapers to stay warm. You came back, Elena said. She didn't sound surprised. Michael knelt down in the mud, not caring about his expensive suit. Is it true? Can you really help my daughters? Elena studied his face. I can't operate anymore. They took my medical license. But I know who can, and I know exactly what they need. Then help us. Please. I'll pay you anything. Elena shook her head. I don't want your money. I want those girls to see. That's all I've ever wanted. She stood up, and despite her dirty clothes and messy hair, she suddenly looked like the doctor she used to be. Strong. Sure. Powerful. Take me to St. Renata's hospital. Now. The hospital lobby went silent when they walked in. A homeless woman. A billionaire. A desperate family. I need to speak to Dr. Morrison and Dr. Patel. Elena announced. Tell them Elena Vance is here. The receptionist's eyes went wide. She picked up the phone with shaking hands. 20 minutes later, 2 doctors in white coats appeared. They looked at Elena like they'd seen a ghost. Elena, Dr. Morrison said slowly, what are you doing here? I'm here to tell you the truth about these girls. Elena pointed at the triplets. You diagnosed them with optic nerve damage. You said it was permanent. You lied. Dr. Patel's face turned red. Now wait just a minute. They have congenital cataracts. Elena's voice echoed through the lobby. Everyone stopped and stared. Severe ones, yes, but completely removable. You knew it. You were just too scared to try. That's not true. Dr. Morrison protested, but his voice wasn't strong. It was weak, guilty. Michael stepped forward. His voice was deadly quiet. You told me my daughters would never see. You looked me in the eye and said there was no hope. Was that a lie? Dr. Patel looked at the floor. Mr. Hale, you have to understand. Surgery on infants is extremely risky. If something went wrong, if we made a mistake. So you chose to do nothing? Sarah's voice broke. You let our babies live in darkness because you were afraid of being sued? The silence was crushing. I reviewed their files, Elena said, pulling wrinkled papers from her coat. She'd gotten them somehow. Every test. Every scan. The evidence was always there. Bilateral dense congenital cataracts with secondary optic nerve compression. The cataracts are causing pressure. Remove them, and the nerves can recover. But you have to do it soon, before the damage becomes real. Dr. Morrison looked sick. Elena, even if you're right. I am right. You know I'm right. You've always known. Michael felt rage building inside him like a volcano. 3 years. 3 years his daughters had been blind because these doctors were cowards. Operate on them, he said. His voice was ice cold. Today. Mr. Hale, we can't just... Today. Michael's shout made everyone jump. Or I will sue this hospital for everything it's worth. I will go to every news station in the country. I will tell everyone how you left 3 little girls in darkness to save your own careers. Dr. Patel and Dr. Morrison looked at each other. They were trapped and they knew it. We'll need to run new tests, Dr. Morrison said quietly, to confirm the diagnosis. Then run them. Now. The test took 4 hours. Michael paced the hallway like a caged lion. Sarah held the triplets close. Elena sat perfectly still, watching everything with those sharp, clear eyes. Finally, Dr. Patel came out. His face was pale. The tests confirm it, he said. Congenital cataracts. Dense. Bilateral. Operable. Sarah started crying. Not sad tears. Relief tears. Hope tears. We were wrong, Dr. Morrison added, appearing behind Dr. Patel. He looked like he'd aged 10 years. We should have investigated further. We should have... I am sorry. Sorry doesn't give them back 3 years, Michael said, but his anger was fading. All he cared about now was moving forward. When can you operate? We'll need a specialist. Someone who's done this procedure before. I'll guide them, Elena interrupted. I can't hold the scalpel, but I can tell them exactly what to do, step by step. Dr. Morrison looked uncomfortable. Elena, you're not licensed, but she's right here. Michael said firmly, and she's the only one who had the courage to tell us the truth. She stays. There was no argument after that. The surgeries were scheduled for Friday. 3 days away. 3 days that felt like 3 years. Michael couldn't eat. Sarah couldn't sleep. The triplets didn't understand why everyone was suddenly so nervous and excited. Are we going somewhere? Lily asked. Yes, sweetheart, Sarah said, holding her close. Somewhere wonderful. On Thursday night, Elena came to the mansion. Mrs. Chun had given her clean clothes and helped her wash her hair. She looked different, almost like her old self. She sat with the triplets and held their hands. Tomorrow is going to be scary, she told them. You're going to go to sleep, and when you wake up, your eyes will hurt a little. But after a few days, something amazing is going to happen. What? Daisy asked. Elena smiled. It was the first time anyone had seen her smile. You're going to see the world. You're going to see colors and trees and birds and faces. You're going to see your mom and dad. You're going to see each other. Rose gasped. Really? Really, truly. Really, truly, Elena promised. Lily reached out and touched Elena's face. Her small fingers traced the lines and wrinkles and scars. Will we see you too? She asked. Elena's eyes filled with tears. Yes, little one. You'll see me too. That night, Michael found Elena standing in the garden, looking up at the stars. Thank you, he said. I don't know how to repay you. You don't have to repay me, Elena said. I had a daughter once. She was born with a heart defect. The doctor said they could fix it, but the surgery was risky. I told them to try anyway. I believed in taking chances to save lives. She paused. Her voice grew quiet. She didn't make it. The surgery failed. I lost everything after that. My license, my career, my mind for a while. I ended up on the streets, convinced I'd kill my own child by being too bold. Michael didn't know what to say. But then I saw your daughters, Elena continued, and I realized something. My daughter died because we tried to save her, but she would have died anyway without the surgery. At least we gave her a chance. At least we tried. She turned to Michael. Your daughters deserve that chance. They deserve someone willing to try. Michael nodded, tears running down his face. Tomorrow would change everything, for better or worse. Tomorrow would be the day his daughters either gained sight or lost their last hope. He prayed Elena was right. He prayed the doctors wouldn't fail. He prayed his little girls would finally see the light. Friday morning arrived with gray clouds and cold wind. It felt like the world was holding its breath. The operating rooms at St. Renata's Hospital were prepared. 3 rooms, 3 surgical teams, 3 little girls who'd never seen a single thing in their entire lives. Michael kissed each daughter on the forehead before they were wheeled away. I love you, Lily. I love you, Rose. I love you, Daisy. We love you too, Daddy, they said together, their small voices brave but scared. Elena stood in the observation room above the operating theaters. She wore a headset connected to all 3 surgical teams. Even though she couldn't hold the scalpels herself, her voice would guide every single cut. Remember, she said to the surgeons, these cataracts are thick, dense. You'll need to work slowly, carefully. One wrong move, and you could damage the lens or the cornea. But if you do it right, these girls will see. Dr. Morrison took a deep breath. We're ready, Elena. Then let's give them their sight back. The surgeries began. Michael and Sarah sat in the waiting room, holding hands so tightly their knuckles turned white. Mrs. Chun prayed quietly in the corner. Time moved like cold honey. Slow, painful, endless. 1 hour passed. 2 hours. 3 hours. Finally, after what felt like forever, Dr. Patel emerged. His surgical mask was pulled down. He was smiling. Lily's surgery was successful. The cataracts are out. Her eyes are clear. Sarah burst into tears. Michael couldn't breathe. 20 minutes later, Dr. Morrison came out. Rose is done. Perfect result. She's going to be fine. And finally, after another agonizing wait, the 3rd surgeon appeared. Daisy's surgery is complete. All 3 girls came through beautifully. Michael collapsed into a chair, sobbing with relief. Sarah held him, crying and laughing at the same time. Elena appeared in the doorway. She looked exhausted but peaceful, like she finally put down a weight she'd been carrying for years. They did it, she said softly. The girls are going to see. The triplets wore bandages over their eyes for 5 days. 5 days of waiting. 5 days of wondering. 5 days of hope mixed with fear. What if the surgeries didn't work? What if the damage was too severe? What if they'd been wrong? But Elena never doubted. Trust me, she kept saying. Trust the process. Give their eyes time to heal. On the 6th day, the doctor said it was time to remove the bandages. The family gathered in a hospital room filled with morning sunlight. Michael stood by the window. Sarah sat on the bed. Mrs. Chin waited by the door. And Elena stood in the corner, quiet and still. Dr. Morrison started with Lily. He slowly unwound the white gauze from around her head. Layer after layer came off until finally her eyes were free. Keep them closed for a moment, he said gently. Let them adjust. Lily's eyelids fluttered. She squeezed them tight. Then slowly, carefully, she opened them. Light poured in. Her eyes went wide. Her mouth fell open. She looked around the room like she'd been dropped into a dream. Colors, she whispered. I can see colors. Sarah started crying again. They unwrapped Rose next. Her reaction was even stronger. She gasped and turned her head quickly. Try and see everything at once. It's so bright. Everything is so bright. And then Daisy. When her bandages came off, she blinked several times, confused and amazed. Is that what things look like? Yes, baby, Sarah said. That's what things look like. The 3 girls looked at each other for the very first time. They stared at each other's faces, seeing their sisters, their mirror images, after a lifetime of only knowing them by touch and sound. You look like me, Lily said to Rose. We all look like each other, Daisy said, amazed. Then they turned to see their parents. Michael stepped forward, his face covered in tears. Hi, girls, he said. It's Daddy. They looked at him with wonder. This was a voice they'd known forever, now attached to a face. A real face with eyes and a nose and a smile. "Daddy," Lily whispered, "you're so tall." "And you're so beautiful," Michael said, kneeling down to their level. They looked at their mother next. Sarah was crying so hard she could barely see them, but she was smiling the biggest smile of her life. "Mommy," Rose said, "you're pretty." "Not as pretty as you three," Sarah said, pulling them all into a hug. Mrs. Chan came forward next. "Do you remember me, girls? It's Mrs. Chan." "Mrs. Chan!" all three shouted. They recognized her voice instantly, and now they could finally see the kind face that went with it. But then Lily looked around the room with a confused expression. "Where is she?" Lily asked. "Where's who, sweetheart?" Sarah said, "The lady, the one from the park, the one who held our hands." Everyone turned. Elena was still standing in the corner, trying to stay invisible, trying not to intrude on this family moment. But Daisy spotted her. Her eyes locked onto Elena's face. "There," Daisy pointed. "That's her. That's the lady." Rose and Lily turned and saw her too, and something magical happened. The three girls climbed off the bed and walked straight toward Elena, not toward their father with his billions, not toward the doctors who performed the surgeries, not toward anyone else. They walked to Elena, the homeless woman, the beggar, the one everyone else had ignored. "You saved us," Lily said. "You made us see," Rose added. "Thank you," Daisy whispered. And then all three girls wrapped their arms around Elena and held on tight. Elena stood frozen for a moment. Then she knelt down and hugged them back, tears streaming down her wrinkled face. "You're welcome, little ones," she said. "You're so very welcome." Michael watched this moment and understood something important, something he'd never really understood before. Heroes don't always wear expensive clothes. They don't always work in fancy offices or have impressive titles. Sometimes heroes are the people everyone else walks past, the people society forgets. Sometimes heroes are the ones brave enough to tell the truth when everyone else is too scared. "Elena," Michael said, "I want to offer you something." Elena looked up, still holding the girls. "I want to rebuild your career. I'll fund a new eye clinic, the best equipment, the best staff, and you'll run it. You'll help other children like my daughters, children who've been given up on, children who need someone brave enough to try." Elena's eyes widened. "Michael, I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Sarah said. "Say you'll help other families. Say you'll keep saving children." Elena looked at the triplets. They were smiling at her with their new eyes. Eyes that could see because she refused to give up, because she'd chosen courage over comfort. "Yes," Elena said. "Yes, I'll do it." The room erupted in cheers and tears and hugs. It was the happiest moment any of them had ever experienced. 6 months later, the Elena Vance Children's Vision Center opened its doors. It was beautiful, modern, filled with hope. On opening day, 3 little girls stood at the front, holding Elena's hands. They could see everything now: the blue sky, the green trees, the faces of everyone they loved. "Look," Lily pointed at a bird flying overhead. "It's a robin." Rose said, "How do you know?" Daisy asked, "Because I read about them. In a book, with pictures. I can read now." They all laughed. Michael and Sarah stood nearby, watching their daughters explore the world with eyes that worked, eyes that saw, eyes that sparkled with joy. "We almost gave up," Sarah said quietly. "But we didn't," Michael said, "because someone reminded us that miracles happen when you're brave enough to believe in them." Elena appeared beside them. She was wearing clean clothes now, professional clothes, doctor clothes, but her eyes were still the same. Sharp, clear, full of truth. "Thank you for trusting me," she said. "Thank you for not giving up on our girls," Michael replied. "Elena smiled. I'll never give up on any child. Not as long as I'm alive." And she meant it. Over the next few years, the Elena Vance Children's Vision Center would help hundreds of children, children who'd been told they'd never see. Children who've been abandoned by doctors too afraid to try. Because Elena taught them all the most important lesson. Sight isn't just about eyes. It's about belief. It's about courage. It's about refusing to accept impossible when you know something better exists. The triplets grew up healthy and strong. They became artists and scientists and teachers. They used their eyes to create beautiful things and to help other people. And they never forgot the homeless woman who'd saved them, the woman who'd seen the truth when everyone else was blind. Because sometimes the people who look like they have nothing are the ones who have everything that matters. Sometimes the real miracle isn't in the healing. It's in having the courage to believe healing is possible. Did this story touch your heart? Hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe for more incredible true stories that will restore your faith in humanity. Because sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones about people who refuse to give up, no matter what the world tells them. What would you do if someone everyone else ignored told you the truth that could change your life? Let us know in the comments below. Remember, heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they wear torn clothes and carry hope in their hearts. See you in the next story. Keep believing, keep hoping, keep seeing the truth.